Hello and welcome to Grime Watch, where we expose the grift, the greed, and the grime of true crime. Everything I'm going to talk about in this video today is protected under fair use. I am sharing my opinion on publicly accessible information, public figures, and publicly known events. I am under no obligation to stay silent and not express my opinions on these matters because somebody doesn't like them. Nothing in this video violates YouTube's terms of service. It contains no personal or identifiable information and makes no call to action. This video is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Now, all you longtime Grime Watchers probably have some questions about what has happened to my channel and why all my videos are gone. Well, I'll give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count, because I think we all know exactly who has been reporting my videos. And they were all reported as a privacy complaint. And I find that very interesting because I don't have access to private information about any of the individuals that I discuss on my channel. These individuals that I discuss, by the way, are not private individuals. They are public figures, and they have chosen to make themselves public figures with their full legal names, faces, and they monetize this. So they know fully what they are doing. They want all the benefits of what comes with that and none of the criticism. But you know what? I'm not going to stop, because this is not North Korea where you can be silenced for disagreeing with someone or having an opinion on someone's actions. But I just find it so interesting that these people can have their channels, they can sit up there on their channels, and they can make money off of talking about other people and their opinions on those people and publicly available information on those people. These people that they talk about are usually victims of crimes, okay? So they can sit up there and they can talk about victims of crimes, people who have committed crimes, and they can discuss all of those things. They can show all the pictures, they can read all the police reports, but the second someone does the same to them, they throw a hissy fit and report and get a little old channel like Grime Watch taken down. And I just like to point out, I don't even have 150 subscribers, and I'm grateful for each and every single one of them. The person who is reporting me has almost 25,000 subscribers, okay? So unfortunately, YouTube is agreeing with them. They're teaming up with the person reporting me. And I would just like to point out that this person has reported every single one of my videos, even the videos about Hghost, Benjamin Scott Thulis, convicted and registered sex offender with charges for CSAM. Okay, I did a 2-part documentary on this guy, and it was reported for privacy violations. I just find that so interesting. Who has an issue with exposing a pedophile who infiltrated a true crime community about a child victim? Who has a problem with that? I'll give you one guess, because she reported the rest of my videos as well. I mean, I guess she's not happy unless Grime Watch has nothing. She's so entitled to think that she's the only one who is allowed to have an opinion or to criticize people. No, you're not. So I would like to announce that I will be re-uploading all of Grime Watch's old videos to Rumble. Everyone come on over to Rumble if you would like to watch the old Grime Watch videos. I'm going to be uploading one every day until we get caught up, and then we're going to go from there. But these videos are important. They should not disappear. And whoever is flagging videos about a registered sex offender pedophile who infiltrated the Madeline Soto community on Reddit, I mean, that is just disgusting. Why would you want to hide what happened? And funny enough, the same person who is reporting these videos is accusing me of being Ben Thulis himself, or working for Ben Thulis if they're able to dox us. Okay, so these accusations are truly not even worth addressing, but I have to. I mean, I think I have a very intelligent audience here on GrimeWatch, and I don't need to spell things out for you guys. But what they are doing is very basic level abuse tactics. It's straight up Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. GrimeWatch is here to expose Benjamin Scott Thulis, because you know what? A registered sex offender status and convictions for child sexual abuse material, that's not private information. That's not protected information, okay? It's public, and it's public for a reason. And this individual was brought into the community, and when we exposed his identity, everyone who was working with him wanted to have nothing to do with it. They just wanted to pawn it off on someone and wash their hands of the entire situation, which is the topic of our video today. I have an interview that I am bringing you today with an ex-mod from this channel. Gothic Breena is here with us today, and she is going to give us her story in her own words, because she was blamed. She was the fall guy. Everyone just pointed their fingers at her and said, Gothic Breena is the one who brought Benjamin Scott Thulis into this. We didn't have anything to do with it. You know, everyone who was actually responsible for giving him a platform, putting him into power, they did not want to accept responsibility and address their audience of 25,000 people and say, listen, this is what happened. I need to warn you guys. This person has infiltrated our community. You need to be aware. We had no idea who he was, but it's my responsibility to let you guys know. No, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to point their finger and said, it's Gothic Breena's fault. Which is not only completely unfair to Breena, but it's unfair to their audience. Okay? So this interview is about accountability. It's about correcting the record. It's about the truth. And I hope you guys enjoy what we are presenting today. In the studio today, we have Gothic Breena, who is the ex-mod of Guilty of Crime. And we also have Asawin, who was a moderator for some time on the original subreddit before Benjamin Scott Thulis took over. So she has seen some things behind the scenes as well. So she's here to help assist me in this interview today. I want to thank both of you for being here and taking the time to discuss this so the GrimeWatch audience can gain some clarity on the situation, because there's been a lot of accusations, a lot of mudslinging, a lot of things that are not true. So thank you both for being here today, and let's just jump right in with all of the information. All right, we are on.
All right, so I'm not sure how you want to start this.
So I would like to say, how did Ben come about?
So I was messaging with Jay as I usually did. This was back in September of 2024. I normally would message her during the day to, see if she needed help for the evening episode, to see if we had everything all set, if there was any extra stuff I needed to do, like slideshows, or if the research that I had done, if she had received the email with the link to the Google document. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we were sending there were times where we'd send voice clips back and forth, and then sometimes we'd send text. So I went and sent her a voice clip, and all of a sudden I get a voice clip back saying, just the person I was going to go message. And that's when I jokingly was like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And then she goes, no, no. She said, I just got a message where someone needs help. And I said, okay. And that's when she started to elaborate. She said, Jenny, the advocate for Madeline Soto, she said something about needing a mod. And I said, okay. And she said, I know you're familiar with, all kinds of social media platforms. Are you familiar with Reddit? And I said, I am. And then she said, well, Jenny came to me and asked me, as in Jay, to be a moderator for the Madeline Soto subreddit. But Jay said she, one, didn't have the time, and two, didn't know very much about Reddit.
And
So
this is
that's,
and this is the OG sub.
yes, yes. So that's when Jay basically said that she had recommended me to Jenny. So then she asked if I would be, interested in something like that. And I said, anything to support Madeline Soto. And I said, anything to get justice for Madeline, anything to stop misinformation, I would love to help. So then
Sure.
I was then sent a text then where she said, okay, well, Jenny and the person that is going to be working with you would like you to activate your Reddit account and accept your mod status on Reddit. And then I got a little pop-up where she was sending me the contact information, like a VCF file on my phone, which is basically Jenny's V card for her phone number and her name on my phone. And she said, basically, Jenny wants you to text her. So that's when I started to text message Jenny. And then Jenny basically said, thank you for helping me. And then I got added into a group text chat with Jenny and Ben. So I then went and logged on to Reddit, and I had my information, like it was already waiting for me to activate my mod status. And right away, there was a lot of issues because he was trying to make all these changes all at once, and he was setting all these rules, and he was just letting all these mods in. Like we had like 10 mods added all at once, including myself. And I was like, okay. And at first, I was a little overwhelmed, and I was like, I don't know if this is really a good idea. But Jay thought it was a good idea because she thought I'd be close to the information, I'd be close to Jenny, and she thought this was a good in for, being close to, one of the big, sources for information for Madeline Soter, the big subreddit, the main
Just being
one.
completely honest, just being completely honest. I am also and I was the sub. I had handled the sub before you.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of who owned. I know someone owned it before Hghost and passed it on to him, but I had no idea of him or who he was. I was under the
Right.
impression that he had been vetted. I was under the impression that he had been looked into, that Jenny knew who he was from speaking to him, that, it was a friend of hers. I did not know that. I didn't really know how it all came about. I just knew that because of my research skills, because of, the amount of time I spend online, because of, the fact that I hate misinformation being spread and I was getting FOIA documents and things like that, I was able to go and actually like post actual facts from the actual FOIA information and help moderate this stuff. And so that's why I was brought into this. Little did I know, speaking to Ben, there were like little red flags that were going off when like first conversation I had with him, he asked to call me, and I noticed he wasn't calling from a regular number. It was a Google Voice number. And he asked me to send him something while I was on the phone with him. He asked me to send him a message on Instagram. And I said, okay. And as I was typing, he heard the clicking of my keys. And all of a sudden, he started accusing me of recording him. He said, are you recording me right now? And I said, why would I be recording you? Like, I have no reason to record you. He was very paranoid. And I was like, okay, this is not usual. Like, I've never been accused of that before. I'm like, I'm typing a message to you on Instagram. You just asked me to message you. He's like, okay, no worries. And so it was just little red flags that were going off that I kept, making mental notes of. Another one was him asking if I had a sock puppet account for Reddit, which is basically an alternate account that I would post under that no one would know it was me, but he called it a sock puppet account. And I was like, I've never heard someone call it that before, but that was the term he used. So that kind of set off another red flag. So he would keep me on the phone for hours. He would call me and tell me everything. Like, he would brag about getting close to Tatiana and talking to the family. He would brag about getting pictures from the family of Madeline at various ages as a baby, as a toddler, growing up into her teens. And he posted them in the mod chat, but he didn't tell us to not take them or save them or do anything with them. He didn't say that we couldn't touch them or take them. So I saved them and I shared them with Jay. And then all of a sudden, Jay put them up in one of her episodes, and I get messaged from Ben, and he's flipping out, saying, I didn't give you permission to save those. I didn't tell you you could save those. And I said, you never said we couldn't save those. And then they said, okay, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Well, then later on, he released the images. He sent them to me in an email and on Instagram with a watermark that was literally almost right underneath their faces. And it was like neon colors, like neon green, neon orange. And it was like, it said Hghost right in big letters on the pictures. And I was like, so you're watermarking them? And he said, yeah. And I said, so you're going to watermark them with your username? And he said, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And then he said, well, can you re-watermark them for me? And I said, well, I guess. I'm like, what am I watermarking them with? And this was one of the last conversations we really had before he tried to throw me under the bus and say that I wasn't really doing much to get me unmodded. So he wanted it to be remodded with the Guilty of Crime logo. So he sent me some new images of rainbow ombre colored logos of what said Guilty of Crime or GoC, and said, can you put these on the pictures, like maybe in the bottom corner or somewhere? And I didn't know. I thought they were just for watermarking the pictures, like, take the background out, lightly make them a little bit transparent and put them over the bottom corner of the image or something like that. I had no idea that in the background behind the scenes that he had been talking with the creator for using them for merch and using these logos for other things. I thought that they were purely just for this round of pictures that he had obtained from the family. So then I got messaged by Jenny. I woke up one morning and I wasn't feeling well. I went back to sleep, and all of a sudden I wake up and my phone was blown up. And I had messages from Jay and I had messages from Jenny, but nothing from Ben. And I thought that was a little weird. So Jay said, you're going to be unmodded from the subreddit. Don't take it seriously. Just let it go. It's not a big deal. And then I go and read Jenny's messages, and she said, Ben's saying this, Ben's saying that. We need to talk. Well, Ben was going and telling her that I stole images from the subreddit and that I had no permission to. But then I sent her the screenshots of the text messages where he told me that it was totally a misunderstanding, that he didn't realize that he thought he had told everyone not to touch the images and not to save them without his consent, but he didn't. And so when he realized that he didn't tell us we couldn't save them, that he basically apologized to me and said, it's not a big deal, just let it go. It is what it is. It's done and over with. You're not in trouble. It's not a big deal. So I sent that text message to Jenny, and she said, okay. And then I basically listened to the other things that she had to say, where he was saying I wasn't active, I was barely on, I barely did anything on the subreddit. And I basically told her, I said, I'm always on. I leave it open on my computer. I have a tab open for the mod chat, mod mail all day. I said, I'm on regularly. And I said, he calls me every day and keeps me on the phone for hours at a time. He constantly told me about private conversations that he would have with the family. And so when Jenny went and said, okay, I'm going to look into it, she talked to him, and it turns out he admitted to everything that I had told her. And there was a lot of information that he basically omitted and didn't tell her, and basically tried to make me look like I was a bad person, and basically it wasn't his excuse to unmod me, because I think he realized that I was very good at my research, and I think he was getting scared that I was going to figure out at one point or another who he was. And so I was unmodded, and then Jenny suggested that I was remodded. He agreed. And then as soon as she'd go and push for him to go and, say, okay, are you going to put her back as a mod? He'd go and all of a sudden say, oh, I don't know if it's a good idea. I'm not sure if it's the right time. Maybe we should wait. And then he'd go, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And then he'd all of a sudden something come up, and he'd always back away from doing it. But the main thing that I always had an issue with was I thought he was vetted. I didn't know he was just a random person. I didn't know he was just a random person who had took over the original subreddit and was working with Jenny. I thought that he had been vetted. I thought maybe she had knew him. I thought that, maybe she knew him better than just looking at how many members were in the subreddit and thinking, okay, I'd like to get those members over in the Facebook group so that we can get more, get the subreddit and the Facebook group working together and get members in both places, because there was a lot more members in the subreddit than there was the Facebook group. Well, when I, wake up for my birthday on the 13th and I get a message from Jenny where she had received a message. Mind you, I had already been doing my own digging in the background. All of a sudden, it comes up that there's, potential information that he's potentially an RSO. I was like, are you kidding me? Because I was already digging information up on my own. And I was like, this can't be. So I immediately went over to the Megan's Law website for California and I typed in his legal name. And sure enough, he popped up. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then right away, that's when Jenny sat there and was like, really? And I was like, are you going to say something? Is someone going to make a statement? And she sat there and she went and made a post on the subreddit quickly and then removed it. And then I messaged Jay and I said, are you going to say anything? Are you going to, defend any of this? Because he's been in your chat. Like, he just got a membership to your chat like a couple days prior. Like, is anything going to be done with this? Her wording was, well, it's the weekend, I'm spending time with my family, just let it go, just ignore it, celebrate your birthday, and just, it'll all blow away, it'll blow over, just let it go. And she said, don't let
Ignore.
it stress you out. And it didn't blow away.
She didn't want to deal with it, but she wanted to blame you for bringing him in to begin with when that just wasn't the case.
Exactly. To hear the information after the fact, to hear that I'm the one who brought this person into a safe space, that what she considers a safe space. She considers her chat to be a safe space for SA victims, for people who have, mental health issues, people who have all kinds of different health issues and ailments and things like that, single parents, all those different things. She basically is saying that I brought this individual into her safe space. So I want to set the record straight that I did not. It, it I it, I honestly I believed that either Jenny or Jay would have vetted this individual before putting me to work with this person. But it turns out no one vetted him until you guys all dug up everything, and it just so happens that I, started having these little red flags going off too, and I was doing my own research and it all just came to head on my birthday on the 13th. And then now to find out that she releases a video showing her Facebook chat where she scrolls back to the conversation and she goes and scrolls all the way up to the top and it shows that she was talking to Ben well before I got added as a mod on September 26th. Like a month or two more than like prior to that. So that makes me wonder, like, why were you talking to him months before? And then the other part that kind of didn't make sense in the video was while she was scrolling, she's like common sense, if anyone knows instant messaging, is when you're showing from your perspective, from your account, the person you're talking to's messages would be on the left and your messages would be on the right. So when she's showing his messages that are in gray on the left and hers are in a box that are like a bluey purple ombre color, she's scrolling through and she's trying to make it look like most of the chat was him doing all the talking and her just giving a couple answers here and there. But there was some spots where you scroll through and there was a lot of conversation between the two of them. And I had no idea that there was, that the logo that I was given for watermarking was used for the was sent, sorry, for the intention to be used for potential merch. I had no idea of any of that. Like there was a lot of things that I'm just finding out that are just coming to the surface now.
So she had contact with him way before you were put in contact with him. I mean, who's the original contact? Is it Jenny? Is it guilty
From
of
my
crime?
from me, it was Jenny contacted Jay and then Jay recommended me. And so then I was then put in touch with Jenny and then Jenny made a group text chat that added me and Ben. And then I started communicating directly with Ben until he tried to get me unmodded and removed me and tried to make Jenny think that I was not a good mod option and wanted me removed. So then he tried to make excuses. So, to my knowledge, the original source from my perspective is Jenny went to Jay and then Jay brought me into it. But from what I've heard from other creators is that he did go and message other creators as both posing as male and female. Like there's some creators who say that he did reach out to them as a female. Some say that he did pose as a male. So I don't know if he tried to reach out to her and, started talking to Jay prior to all this and it didn't click and she didn't realize and put two and two together, or what the reasoning is for the conversation being way before I got the actual mod on the subreddit. But my initial connection to him was Jenny.
So when he was discovered to be an RSO, how was that situation handled?
Um, from so from Jay's point of view, she was spending time with the family because it happened over the weekend, so she kind of just thought it would go away. Um, Jenny wanted to see what was going to happen, but then I was noticing that within, I'd say, not even an hour, everything was gone except his Flickr account. Like I've never seen someone go and delete everything. Like this is someone who clearly knows how to make himself disappear in a small amount of time if he needs to. Like he clearly knew exactly what accounts he needed to get rid of, and like he is very good at making himself disappear if he needs to. If he feels that he's in threat of being, caught by police or whatever the case may be, he definitely made himself disappear pretty quickly. He got rid of his Google Voice number, his email address was gone, everything was gone. The only thing, to my knowledge, that was left up was his Flickr account.
Yeah, the Flickr account is strange that it's still up and it's still up with his name.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't have access to it anymore, or is reluctant to part with that account. It's kind of a riddle to me.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was definitely interesting to see someone go and, get rid of everything so quickly. And I know that when talking to Jenny, she said, "Well, I'm going to try and call him." And as soon as she tried to call his Google Voice number, disconnected immediately. And then, she tried to email him and it bounced back with a message saying that the email account was no longer in service. I tried to email him, same thing. Like
And
he made himself disappear.
and Jay didn't want to address it at all, not even to her audience.
Yeah. So she thought that if we just let it go, that it would just kind of blow over. And I believe that it needed to be addressed because she had been promoting the subreddit and, telling everyone go to this one, not the Maddie Soto one, go to the OG one. and telling everyone like that that's the one that I'm modding at. That's the one that he was in the process of making it so you couldn't post like conspiracy theories, and if you posted an opinion, you had to state it was your opinion. If you posted information, you had to post where you got that information, like your source. So she was basically they had like a kind of a deal where he would promote and post her videos under his alternate, because one of his rules was no spamming and no promoting or self-promoting. So he came to me and he said, well, because you're a mod for a YouTuber, you can't promote, that channel. And I said, okay, no problem. And so then he said, but that doesn't mean I can't. And I said, okay, but you're the owner. And he said, I have a backup account. And that's when he told me about his ex Haunted One X account. And he brought it in as a mod account. And he said, I post under that account because no one will know that's me. And so he would go and post some of the videos for Guilty of Crime on the subreddit. And then she would go and in turn would go and basically promote the subreddit. And the thing was, if certain topics came up and she had posted or she had done a video about it and it was exclusive stuff and there had not been a thread started about that video yet, he was to go and promote and post a thread to promote Guilty of Crimes video. But if a thread had already been started with, say, Grizzly or Gavin Fish's video, then his video would be posted below theirs. He wouldn't go and delete the thread. That was the one thing he said was, I won't delete, a post that's already up. I'll put your video below it. And she was okay with that.
I want to also touch on the post that he made. He was saying that, we can't have rumors, we can't have this, these conspiracy theories. But Ben himself was posting from his main account from Hghost. He was posting this rumor at best that Maddie was confirmed to be not pregnant, and that this was announced by the prosecution team and the prosecutor's office, which it's obviously not true. I mean, they never made such a statement, yet this was posted to the subreddit, and Jay also posted his like a screenshot of his Reddit post to her YouTube channel. So they're disseminating this false information using some sort of like their authority as mods to back it, even though it's completely false.
Yeah, so that was I remember that day. It was Jay was streaming and she got a call during her stream and it was Jenny. And she, basically muted her mic and, went to go talk to Jenny. At first she said, she answered and she didn't mute her mic and she said, I'm recording. And then she goes, I can mute if you want. And then she went to go mute it. And then Jenny goes, no, no, it's fine. And that's when Jenny said, I wanted to call you while you were live to let you know that it's been released that Madeline Soto was not pregnant. And so that's when Jay said, you heard it here first. Jenny's on the phone, the advocate for Madeline Soto, that Madeline is not pregnant. So then that's when Hghost went and made the post on the subreddit stating that he had been contacted and asked for him to basically disseminate that information and put that information out there. From what I was told from Jenny, they were hoping that the information being released, because the family had allegedly stated that she was not pregnant. They were hoping that the prosecutor's office or the state attorney would officially release something, knowing that the family was okay with releasing that information. But it never happened. It never got any traction. So basically, it was just Jenny saying that the family had said that she was not pregnant. And so then Ben basically went and made his post, which the way he worded the title of the post, saying that he was messaged and asked by the DA to make that post, it was not proper. And he didn't receive the information from any type of, legislator or any legal government official. It was from Jenny.
Yeah, I remember a lot of strange language that he was using, in those posts. Things that were like clearly ego driven, like, kind of like a fight over like, oh, I'm the one who got the call first. I got it before these people did. And also some quote that was like, oh, they were hoping that I could be the one to break the news. Like, who are you?
Yeah, he was definitely I don't I he was very difficult to work with. Seeing mods coming and going and not agreeing with him in mod chat and like big arguments blowing up and then them just up and leaving and then all of a sudden just getting all kinds of like hate messages and stuff like that. It was a lot, and this was all in such a short span of time, mind you. Like, I received my mods status on the 26th of September, and he was exposed on my birthday, which was October 13th. So this all happened in like little over 14 days, like 2
Wow.
weeks, all this happened, and, like, there was a lot, and he was so paranoid, like, just so paranoid, and, I remember when I found out, about all this stuff, I called his police department. I made a police report because when I was talking to Jenny, I said, "Are you gonna call and make a police report? Like, you're the advocate for Madeline Soto. You had someone in your Facebook group that you run that's Justice for Madeline Soto. You had an individual who is an RSO in your community. You were working with him. You put me in touch with this individual. Like, are you going to call and make a police report?" And that's when she sat there and said, "Well, I'll deal with everything down here in Florida. Could you do it?" And I said, "How is it my place to? Like, you should be doing this. You introduced me to him. You brought him into this. You didn't vet him." So when I saw that she wasn't going to make a police report or call the police, that's when I said, "You know what? I'm gonna look up," and I made sure that the address was the legit address on the Megan's Law website, and that's when I called his police department, and they had already received one call prior to me, and they stated that the person was kind of vague with information, and I basically gave them all my information, told them if they needed anything, and I was very firm. Like, I was not just going to let them just shrug me off. And I said, he's going and asking people for pictures of this individual as a baby and as a toddler. This person is going and trying to get into these spaces of a big case, these Facebook groups and things like that, and no one's doing anything. And the fact that he's in possession of these pictures that he got from the family, no one's doing anything. And I said, if you need
How did he
anything.
how did he get the pictures from the family?
So, from what he told me, and it was confirmed by Jenny, he used to brag to me that he started to message Tatiana Wallace on Instagram. They started a friendship, and then from there, it kind of evolved from Instagram to Facebook. He then wanted proof. From what he told me, he wanted proof from the family to prove that Tyler and Tatiana were involved in Madeline's life like they said they were. And he said that he tried to come right out and ask for proof of court documents for custody and for basically court to prove of DNA testing and further custody case to prove that he tried to fight for custody. I basically then stepped up and said, as a mom, I said, "Ben, that's really inappropriate to go and ask a family member, or a stepmother and a father for their court documents to post to prove that they were involved in this child's life. They're not, they're probably going to tell you to go and, kick rocks or something. They're not going to give you court documents." And then
But
he
they
thought
did
about it. Pardon?
but they didn't. They gave him pictures.
They gave him pictures instead. Yeah. So I told him, I said, "There's no way. I can't see them giving you court documents." And he said, "You're right. You're right." And that's when he said, "Well, how can I prove that, that that they were involved?" And then he goes, "I know. I'll see if I can get something else." And then that's when he ended up going and getting pictures from her being a baby all the way up to be able to prove over the years that they were involved. And that's when I was talking to Jenny, I had told her about some of the instances that he had told me things that Tatiana had told to Ben in confidence. And when I told them to Jenny, Jenny went back and confirmed it with Tatiana. And Tatiana did confirm. She said, yes, I did say that to Ben and thought he would keep it to himself or keep it between us. And obviously he didn't. And then that's when Jenny had sent me text messages where Ben had acknowledged that he had broken Tatiana's trust and broke Jenny's trust, and that he did omit telling Jenny information when he had requested for me to be unmodded, and that he didn't tell them things about like his personal relationship with Tatiana and her telling him things in confidence and him running to me, and that made them wonder, okay, if he's telling Bree, who else is he going and telling? But he admitted in the text messages, I'm sorry, I messed up. I just want justice for Madeline. I'm really sorry. I'll never do it again. And like, I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, I can only imagine like this family is going through enough. And then to see that now Tatiana's going to find out that she was talking to someone who turns out to be an RSO and she sent images to him.
That had to be devastating.
I could only imagine. And
That had
his
to be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, and the reason he wanted it was so that he could prove that they were involved and that the Wallaces fought as best they could for Madeline given the circumstances, and that
Well,
he
honestly,
wasn't an
we don't
absentee
know.
father.
Honestly, we don't know what he wanted with the photographs.
Well, he had told me that his reason for wanting them was for the subreddit first and then to use them on the Facebook group, because I had asked why he had wanted all these photos, and that's what he had told me in messages, was that he wanted to post them on the subreddit and as well share them with Jenny to post on the Facebook.
But as an RSO,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't know what he wanted with them.
exactly. The only person who knows would be himself.
You're right.
All of this was able to happen because the people who were on the front lines were focused on the wrong things. They weren't focused on justice for Maddie. They were focused on converting Reddit users into YouTube viewers, and they were focused on changing the public's perception of them as parents. And because they were so focused on these things, a registered sex offender with convictions for CSAM, he's not just a sex offender, he does have convictions specifically for CSAM, was able to come into possession of these baby pictures, these young pictures, and he was able to come into possession of control.
Not to mention what else we don't know about that he got possession of. There could be other things that we don't know. Like he could have got little, video clips that he could have got sent of, cell phone clips or something like that of her as a baby. And we don't know all the stuff. Like he could have just showed us maybe 20% of what he was sent. We
You're
don't know
right.
what all he got.
And we
You're
won't know
100% right. Yeah.
because the people who are responsible for letting this happen, they don't want to take responsibility for it. And you know what, taking responsibility for it is as simple as apologizing to the audience and saying, we didn't know, we should have known, but we didn't, and I'm so sorry that we let this happen. We had no idea. It would
And
be
that would have created
uncomfortable.
that would have created a safe space, just like they're trying to say that it is.
Right,
Exactly.
because there's honesty and there's accountability, there's integrity, but there's wanting
Correct.
to pass the blame. They're wanting to blame someone else. Oh, sorry, I'm busy with the family this weekend. We can blame it on Breena.
Yeah. That's why I wasn't just gonna sit there and I didn't I went and said, well, I got to do something. I'm not just going to sit there and let this happen. So I went and made a very long post on what was, it was called the community post tab, but now it's the posts tab and it's still up. And I did say on there that, I was hoping to make a video at some point to speak and elaborate more on it, but I never got a chance to. But that I wasn't just going to sit and just, think that, oh, okay, if I just sit here quietly, it's just going to blow over and it's going to go away. Because like I would sit there and I'd be modding when I'd see a new person pop in chat. I couldn't help but think, okay, what if this is Ben under a like a new username? Like how hard is it? It takes like 2 minutes to make a new account. He knows how to make his accounts all disappear in under an hour, under 45 minutes. It could take him like a minute to make a new account. Like, there is no doubt in my mind, if I was a betting woman, I would put all my money on it that he is out there under a new account and he is very much still involved posting. And he is sitting there laughing because he thinks that we don't know he's out there. And I know he is. And
Absolutely.
like I can't help but shake that feeling in my gut that he is out there still and he is very much involved in this case and we don't know who he is. We don't know his identity to go and point and say that's exactly who he is. But to have people going and saying, "Oh, well, we don't know for sure, but these individuals, these are all Ben, or if they're not Ben, they're working for him." Now, I don't have there's no doubt in my mind that he is out there, but I know I'm not Ben. I know I'm not working for Ben. I wish I knew where he was to find him so I could report him and exchange a few words with him because what he like I just what he did is he shouldn't be out free. That's just
It is infuriating.
It is. It is. And the fact that I had to spend my birthday trying to convince someone to call the police to make a police report, and they sat there and told me, "I'm busy. I'll handle stuff here in Florida. Can you call and make a police report?" And so I did. And then I had to save screenshots and proof so that if someone came to me and said, "Hey, do you have receipts that you called the police department?" Yes, I do. I called them. I gave them all my information. I gave everything, and they sat there and wondered why someone from where I live is calling them about an RSO because it's the right
We
thing to
called them
do.
too. We called them too. Every single one of us called him too.
I
We
called for
called,
2 weeks.
yes,
I
we
called
called them.
every agency I could find. I can't tell you how many people I spoke with, but I called on my lunch breaks at work for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like when I saw how quickly he was able to delete all of his accounts, I'm like, this is clearly someone who has experience. He has experience to make himself disappear in a quick time manner
And you know
before
what?
the
You know
police
what
come
that
and
tells
knock it.
me? That tells me that he is continuing to do what he does.
Yep. And
Right.
that means he should be locked up.
Well,
He's
and that's
continuing to
why
do the thing.
we've never presented any of our online spaces as safe spaces because you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no way for us to guarantee a safe space. You just can't. So
Yeah.
for, guilty of crime to call, her chat, oh, this is a safe space if you're a victim of this there's 2 RSOs that have been found in her
Yeah.
chat so far. I mean, anyone remember Adam Drives Helen? Boy, he sure disappeared real quick.
Yeah, I
There's
remember
two
seeing
that we
his
know. There's two that we know of.
yeah,
That we know of,
that we
okay? And
know
they
of.
can just as easily open a new account, hop right back in, and keep doing their thing, keep kissing her ass. Oh gosh, she loves that. So easy to get on her good side by kissing her ass, which is exactly what both Ben and Adam did. And look, it
Yep.
worked.
Yep. I
So
remember finding out about Adam Drives Helen. I remember seeing his now ex present the information and talk about it. And I went immediately to Jay and said, "Did you hear about Adam?" And she was like, "What?" And I said, and I looked up his court records and I sent her screenshots. And she sat there and she said, "Well, I'm going to call him." And I said, "You're not going to talk about it to the community?" Because he was like, she has a lot of females in her community, and when we have like the odd male, she usually like says like, "Oh, that's my man, like that's my boy, like that's, like we had one gentleman, his name was Chief, and he was considered like the GOC boyfriend for all the girls that were single in the chat. So he
Ew.
was like the main man because there's very few males in the chat. So when I brought the information to her, I said, "Here's the screenshots of his charges." She sat there and said, "Well, I'm going to try and call him." And I sat there, I said, "Well, here's the proof." Like I looked it up. And then I ended up getting the FOIA and I ended up looking up everything. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like the things that he did. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And she wouldn't speak on it. She wouldn't present it. She didn't want to talk about it.
That's crazy that her first reaction to that is, let me go call him.
Yep. She wanted to go and call him and see what he had to say.
That is absolutely insane. And then to not ever address it to her community. I mean, she was calling out Adam Drives Helen in her live chats every day for weeks, months.
Oh yeah, she was telling everyone when he changed his channel and rebranded to Land Pirate Radio. "Oh, go hang out with him at night. He has a great show. It's a great space to go and kick back and
Promoting him.
relax. Go and basically telling everyone to go and watch him and go." And she said, "Oh, I'll be in there hanging out," and telling everyone where to find her and basically saying what time he'd be on and stuff like that. And
No accountability.
yeah, none.
Just
For either of them. For either of them.
Exactly.
and
No
not
accountability
only
for either person.
either one, yeah, so times two. I mean, if it happened a third time, what do you think would happen? I mean, the same exact thing. And not
The
only is she
same
not
thing. The
taking,
same exact thing would happen.
yeah, and not even is she
It,
not taking accountability, she's passing it off onto someone else and then claiming that other innocent people are this person or working for him. I mean, it's just insane how much she wants to skirt her responsibility as a true crime presenter and channel owner and community
as
leader.
a self-proclaimed.
I think
And I
Because
that's an
just
important distinction.
she doesn't have to do this. This is not her job.
I
Right.
just want to state too, though, I am not, everything that I'm saying here is not me stating this out of hate, out of dislike, out of me being homophobic, because I'm bisexual. So I am in no way homophobic at all. I am just stating this to clear my name, to set the record straight, to, you know, basically let everyone know that I did not bring Ben to guilty of crime. I did not bring someone to this channel where all these people are. I did not break anyone's trust by bringing this individual, nor did I know this individual had the background that he did. Because if I knew this individual had the background he did, I would not have had anything to do with him. I thought that two grown adults, Jenny and Jay, that one of them would have vetted who they were, at least Jenny, if she's the one, like Jenny was the main person working with him. So I would have thought Jenny would have vetted him. Jay was just, messaged and said, "Hey, do you know anyone that could, since you don't know Reddit, can you find someone that can help me and do it for me? Because I don't know Reddit either." And that's when Jay recommended me. So I don't really put the responsibility on Jay to have to vet the guy. I would put it more so on Jenny if I had to say, because Jenny
Yeah.
was the one that was directly working with him. It just so happens that Jenny messaged Jay to find, someone who's could, mod and help out, and thought that maybe Jay knew Reddit, and that's when I was recommended. But the fact that two grown adults and nothing was talked about vetting this individual, and I don't have any hate, and I wouldn't speak out against someone because of hate. That's not my style. My thing is I hate the spread of misinformation. I hate when people don't tell, when they omit information or they try to twist things to make themselves look better, or they can't take accountability, or things like that, or when they're putting the blame on someone else. And if you look at the situation, going and saying that, I was doing all these things that I didn't do any of them, and thinking, okay, well, if we just, just let it go, it's all just going to die down and everyone's going to forget about it. No, it doesn't work like that, because anytime I enter a chat now, everyone sees my name and it's like, oh my goodness, she's bad. Like, my reputation is tarnished. My reputation is ruined. And I've worked so hard on my reputation and doing so much. And I did so much for that channel. And then to be accused of bringing an RSO into that space and around all those people that trusted me. I did not. And so if she's not willing to speak out, if Jay's not willing to speak out and say that, tell people the truth that I did not bring that individual into that space, I did not bring that individual to her channel, then I have to advocate for myself and speak for myself and tell people myself that I did not bring him to her channel.
Yeah,
I think that you've done a great job in explaining yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so sorry that all of that happened to you, Breena, because you did so much for that channel, and it was just you were taken advantage of and then completely discarded and blamed at the
Yeah,
end for what happened. And that's completely unfair to you. And my whole point of doing this stream is to give you your voice and your chance to speak your piece and to make everything clear,
I
because
appreciate
it's
that.
not fair at all.
It isn't.
Thank you for talking with us tonight.
No problem.
Yeah, and maybe if you're down for it, we can do a part 2 to this. I'm sure people will have questions.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. If anyone has any questions and they want to leave them in the comment section, or if they want to email them in, or, I would love to hear what anyone has to say. Obviously, please positive comments. And I just want to state, like I stated earlier, I have no hate. And that does not mean, in any way that because I am no longer modding for that channel to go and, you know, do anything, like, don't send any hate their way, do not go and do anything, you know, go and be
Negatively.
positive. Yeah, don't do anything negative. Go subscribe. If it's your thing and you like her content, go watch her channel. Go subscribe. Go, give her a thumbs up on a video. She covers some good cases, and she does do some positive things on some cases, but there's everyone has their opinion, everyone has their niche for what they do, but I don't condone saying, oh, go and do this, go and target this person's channel, and go give them all thumbs downs and go report them and stuff like that. No, don't do that. That's not the way to go, and we're not doing anything to try to, by me speaking out, I'm just trying to set the record straight. I'm just trying to say my piece about how this whole situation came, since the other two individuals that were majorly involved in this obviously are not willing to speak out on it, or speak truthfully about it. So if you can just not send hate their way. If you don't agree with the channel, then just leave it alone. But if you like the channel, then that's fine. If you have any comments you want to leave or questions you have, by all means, I have no problem answering any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Breena, for taking the time to, have this interview. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. I know there's still so much that we didn't cover. And, maybe we can save that for another time, because really so much went on. It's really hard to cover everything in one go.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. And that concludes our interview with Gothic Breena today. Thank you so much, Breena, for sharing your story. I'm so sorry for all of the backlash that you've received for absolutely no reason. I mean, all the work that you did for that channel and the way that they treated you, it's really unbelievable. And I'm so sorry that you got caught up with Ben. I mean, it's a horrible situation. And to a certain degree, I'm sorry that Jay and Jenny got mixed up with Ben, but you know, they are the ones who are the advocates. They are the ones who are the reporters, the professionals. They are the ones who are on the front lines, and probably Jenny more than Jay was responsible for knowing who this person was, and she just had no interest in it whatsoever. And my pity for the situation dries up at exactly the point where they don't take responsibility for it. The responsibility to alert their audience and be transparent about what happened, but there was just none of that. It was just blame it on somebody else and hope it goes away. Well, you know, here we are 8 months later. It's not going away, and calling me Ben and saying that the people who I'm working with are working for Ben, it's not going to work, okay? People are smarter than to think that Benjamin Scott Thulis is going to release a 2-part documentary on himself, okay? Speaking of which, you can go watch this documentary on my Rumble. Please go to rumble.com and look up Grime Watch. I will be uploading a video every day until we're caught up. The documentary on Hghost is in 2 parts, and it covers the timeline from the point where he took over the subreddit to when he was exposed and the resulting fallout of that, which is apparently still in free fall 8 months later. It's crazy how this situation just hasn't gone away, probably because there's no closure to it. You know, he deleted his account, and we just got to assume he's still out there. And the interest in Hghost kind of died down, and I wish I started this channel a long time ago to strike while the iron was hot. But interest in him has only resurfaced when Grime Watch resurfaced, and the interest in him was only to ruin Grime Watch's credibility by claiming that I am him and I'm this AI voice and I'm 20 different users on Reddit and we don't want justice for Maddie and we're all working for this convicted pedophile. I mean, but again, it's almost not even worth addressing. My audience is very intelligent. I'm sure you guys can figure out exactly what's going on here. I'm sorry I couldn't bring you a video in true Grime Watch fashion. I love to be snarky. I love to bring receipts. I love the edits. It can't happen on YouTube. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do except to go to Rumble. I don't think that my videos were ever reviewed by an actual human. I mean, when I got the emails, the timestamps where the alleged violations occurred, the timestamps like made up the entire video. So my videos don't have personal information in them. That's all publicly accessible information. I don't have any secret information that you guys can't get. Well, I do, but I don't release it when I have private information. I don't release it. I hope in the future I can release it. I want nothing more than to bring this to you guys, especially this information regarding Jenny. But I cannot do that. So in the meantime, I hope that you can join me over on Rumble. I don't think that we're going to have the same issues over there that we're having on YouTube. And as far as Grime Watch on YouTube, you know, I'm really sad to see what happened to my channel. You know, I'm not even trying to really be a YouTuber. I'm not interested in monetization. I have no interest in this as a career or something profitable. This is simply a passion project for me, born out of what I witnessed happening with Hghost and how the people involved handled the situation, or didn't handle it, I should say. But it's just really frustrating to see this toddler-like entitlement from this dishonest person who is only interested in money. Throw this temper tantrum and demand that Grime Watch be taken down and the Reddit be taken down. I mean, just absolutely stomping her feet, pounding her fists, crying like a little baby. Oh, they're saying mean things about me. Okay, well, you successfully deleted every single one of my videos. If that was your goal, you were successful. So good job. Everyone come on over to Rumble. We're going to keep going over on Rumble, and we're going to keep going on YouTube. The videos here are going to be a little different. If you guys are interested, I'll bring some more interview style videos, maybe some roundtable discussion. I think those things are a lot less likely to get reported by YouTube, although I fully expect her and her minions to report this video. So don't be surprised if it goes away. Even though there's nothing in here that violates YouTube's terms of service, it just violates someone's entitlement to silence critics. I mean, you can't make actions in this world. You can't make statements, say things, do things, and then nobody's allowed to comment on what you do. Okay, that is North Korea. Okay, and that's not what we're doing over here. You are not a supreme and glorious leader. Okay, you are just some idiot with a microphone and a webcam. And you are not immune to criticism. So thank you all so much for joining me for this very special edition of Grime Watch. I really hope that you'll all come and join me over on Rumble. And come on over to the subreddit, r/guiltyofcrime_snark. I think the issue we're having is with the platforms themselves, because nothing is violating any sort of terms of service or anything legal. There's no privacy violations. When you record live streams from your place of work with the name of the business visible in the background in your video, and then someone else makes a comment about you working at this business. I mean, they didn't violate your privacy. You violated yourself, idiot. So Grime Watch isn't going anywhere, but YouTube is just not the place, I guess, and that's fine. I think YouTube has been a platform for long enough. I think other competitors are going to start popping up and proliferating. So get in there while the getting's good. Come on over to Rumble. Come join the subreddit. I mean, as long as this person is up there making videos and this other person is presenting themselves as an advocate, as long as Ben is not locked up for violating the terms of his release, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here and I'm going to be talking about it, because this is disgusting and deplorable behavior in the wake of this tragic case. And it needs to be talked about. And I don't even want to necessarily be the one to do it, but somebody's got to do it. So here I am. And thank you for being here to witness it. I am so grateful to my audience. I hope this video brings you some closure, answers some questions about what has been going on. I never wanted to see this happen to my channel, but I knew it was a possibility when I made my videos. And I made those videos with that knowledge, and I made them with the purpose to spread information and to entertain, not to become some big, crazy YouTuber. But who knows what's going to happen over on Rumble. So come on over and join us on Rumble. The uploads are going every day until we get caught up, and then we're going to get into some new exciting content. Thank you again for joining me for this edition of Grime Watch. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.